Hi everybody! Alright, I'm going to make this video here to explore who is the angel of death. So I'm just going to relax and then we'll see what comes, okay? It's really quiet. There is a sliver of light that goes in between two dark halves. It feels like a knife that is cutting through my insides and splitting me in half. I am looking at this weapon, which is like a magical sword. It looks like it's made out of crystal. It glistens in the light. It has a silver handle that even goes up through like its own sword, goes up in between the crystal. So there's a sword and the crystal is also the bigger portion of the sword. It's a crystal sword with a metallic sword on the inside of the crystal with like a silvery handle. This weapon is really a part of the focus. It never goes into a sheath or holder. We see a man who is hung up to die. His neck is in a noose. There's no emotion related to this gruesome death or death that takes place in war. People die all the time. There's a man with a feather pen sitting down at an old sort of tilted wooden table, writing on a script of paper that is yellowed or aged. This man is very focused on writing with a very ornate lettering. He too is starting to succumb to what is like a heart attack. He is struggling to get the air in. His mind is starting to have corrupted receptors, and he is trying to get the thoughts through as to what is going on, but he cannot quite think through the reality that he is suddenly dying. He is no longer able to get the breath into his body. He is so weak he has fallen out of his chair. There is no emotion associated with this death. There is a man who walks past the body. He can walk through walls. He asks me a question. He shows me death as a perception of the dark side of life. He asks me if I feel that death is the dark side of life, or do I see death as light and life itself? Death as life, not as death, as darkness. He asks, where do you choose to go after you die? Do you suppose I take you there, or do you suppose I murder you? Do you see me as a murderer, the taker of lives, the angel of death? He shows me a reflection of I call her Mother Snake. She is like a Medusa, a goddess with snakes coming out of her backsides, snakes coming out of her hair, snakes coming out all around her. She has two fangs. One fang is a reflection of life, giving medicine, healing, the healer, the rebirther through life experience, through healing experiences. But the other fang is the poisonous side, the teaching side. Poison as the teacher teaches us about struggle, about courage, about sorrow, about loss, about many things that are a reflection of the darker sides of our journey. He shows me her sitting in a room of her own kind. Half of the snakes on her body are black snakes and the other half are white snakes. She releases a white snake and it slithers on the ground towards me. This is a snake of life. I pick the snake up and I look into the snake's eyes. I rest the snake on my shoulders and I walk towards her. The angel of death is standing in the doorway with a sword made out of silver and crystal with this crystal blade. I give her the white snake back and tell her, "This belongs to you." She seems to say that it belongs to me. This is very meaningful. There's a lot of meaning involved with this gesture. So I accept this as a gift and I place this white snake in my heart. She tells me, "I believe you are talking with the angel of death today." I say, "Yes, I am." So there's a pause right now. Seeing as snakes are a sacred animal to me, seeing as this goddess, snake goddess, is a sacred reflection of love to me, sacred reflection of the human journey of life, of reincarnation, of healing, of challenge, of rebirth, of shedding new skins, of so many things, of life itself. It's very powerful for her to come visit me unexpectedly and then to share a gift of a white snake. I explored her giving me a gift of a black snake, but she would not do that. That white snake symbolizes life. That white snake symbolizes the good side of life, the joyful side of life. That's a really beautiful message for me. So I think it's not just a message for me as this video is for humanity. It's a message for humanity about the poisonous side of the snake is not a part of our movement forward as a human race. It's about the time of the white snake. The blessing of the white snake moving forward as the healer, the rebirther of the human race into a life cycle and experience of bliss and love. So you can imagine what a big deal that is. It's a symbol of truth for me, but for everybody. It's a good sign. And walking back to the angel of death. He has no face. He carries the sword with him. He knows I have no fear. He knows that I actually do love him in his heart. He knows that I understand that death is a beautiful thing, that death is actually a blessing, an opportunity for whole new experiences. Death is not an ugly thing, is not a terrifying thing, is not a grievous thing. Death is a discovery. Death is learning. Death is as important as birth, as falling in love, as sorrow and loss, as important as life challenges and life blessings. Death is a part of every single life. Whether you are ready for it, whether you want it or not, it is a gift. He's trying to show me something else here. It's complicated. It has to do with looking in the mirror. It's exhausting and overwhelming to me. I see him looking in the mirror. I see his reflection in the mirror. He's just wearing it's like he is wearing a black silk thing over his head, but it's very tight. You can't see his face. It's sort of like people back in the day who were at the guillotine, for instance, they wore like a silk garb over the head and you could see the eyes and the mouth and such. But his is sort of attached to the face. He wants me to say that that is what he looks like. I tell him he does not have to hide his face from me. I go to take off the silky covering. What do you expect to see underneath it? Do you expect him to look like a skeleton? Maybe he has rotted flesh with worms eating him and flies, other gruesome things. Maybe he is the most handsome man. Maybe he is also a she, the most handsome, most beautiful woman. What do you think will be underneath this silk covering? Perhaps it is you under the silk covering. Perhaps you are your own angel of death and life. Perhaps you are the chooser of your own journey. Perhaps it was deception all along that there would be such an angel as this. Even in death there is life, so only life is ever celebrated. Death is life, and after death is life, and beyond life is more life. There is no angel of death. That's what they say. When the mask comes off, it is for you to decide. And that is all for this message. Okay. Well, thank you very much for exploring this with me. If you're interested in a psychic service, please visit my website at abbynormalswisdomquest.com. I wish you all a wonderful day.